saw a very specific need and saw a very specific way in order to meet it. One-on-one, individuals, groups helping out, so that if you are a caregiver or you can help a caregiver, all you have to do is contact hiddenheroes.org.
Yeah.
And you will be put together and make your neighborhood and your country and the street you live on a better place.
You know, coming here tonight is a bright spot because we're celebrating America's military caregivers, the millions of you, hidden heroes, who devote your lives to caring for a loved one who served our nation.
There's a tendency, I think, to isolate because I think by and large a lot of veterans think they got to do it themselves. They got to suck it up. There's only one person responsible for their kit bag, and that's them. The truth is, this is America, and we help each other. And the second best thing that can happen to someone knocking on your door and saying, "Do you need any help? What do you need from me?" is being the person to knock on somebody else's door and say, "Can you give me a hand? I need somebody to watch my kids for a while so I can go to junior college." That's the type of stuff that has to go on.
So a few years ago, when Tom portrayed Mr. Rogers, I remember talking to him about the famous Fred Rogers advice that in the times of crisis, look for your helpers. And it occurred to me that since the founding of our nation, America has always been able to rely on our men and women in uniform as the helpers. And when our service members have returned home from war, they've been able to count on their caregivers. But unfortunately, for generations, as caregivers looked for their helpers in their lives, they didn't find anyone. And then 12 years ago, a caregiver at Walter Reed saw Senator Elizabeth Dole step into her doorway, and the lives of America's hidden heroes changed forever. Senator, thank you for being our North Star. Thank you for turning this mission into a movement and for sparking a sea of support that we see in this hall this evening. We all follow you, Senator. Let's hear it for Senator Dole.
So please remember, tonight is not only a celebration, it is a call to action. Military caregivers and their kids, just like the ones who open our show, serve our nation by the millions, that together they uphold our end of Abraham Lincoln's pledge to care for those who bear America's greatest battles. And they do so at it. Yes, come on, let's hear it. Why not?
And all the people said amen.
Because this is all of it.
It's true.
We all are. We don't discount the incredible personal costs that it takes in time and wherewithal and desire and sleep. Fortunately, each one of us has the incredible power to lighten that heavy load.
We live in this world and our hearts break for the things that we see, and a night like this brings the best of our humanity to light. And when we have a veteran right here who served his country, his wife who is his caregiver as well, and they inspire me. And that's what I think, what we can do. It's wonderful if you can join an organization like Hidden Heroes. It's wonderful if you can make a donation. There's something that every single person can do, and that is open their eyes and look around, because the caregivers are everywhere. And we love our troops and we love our veterans. And if we love our veterans, then we got to support the caregivers who care for them. That's what we can do, and it's easy. You can say, can I watch your kids for an hour? Can I bring you dinner one night? It's so easy to just show love to your neighbor. And the one thing that I've heard over and over again from caregivers is they just want to be seen. We call this organization Hidden Heroes, but we don't want them to be hidden. We want them to know they're not alone. A lot of caregivers don't even realize they're caregivers. So we are here to say, we see you, and we hope that we open the eyes of others as well.
Right, heroes and history makers, what we're celebrating tonight, also shines a spotlight on the caregivers' biggest champions. And so we're excited to be recognized as this year's Caregiver Champion honoree, a Marine himself, yes. Mr. Adam Driver.
I know that when one person joins the military, their loved ones do too, in a sense. And if their wounds are invisible, it can be as equally as challenging. Everything they said is true. I was in the Marine Corps with 101 Weapons Company 81's platoon out in Camp Pendleton, California, and I got out and went to Juilliard for acting, which I know on the surface seems like not the obvious move. But actually, I found that the arts in the military have a lot in common. Yes, one is pretending that the stakes are life and death, and the other one they actually are. But with both, it's a group of people trying to accomplish a mission that's bigger than any one person. With both, you have a role. You have to know your role really well within your team or unit. Someone's leading it. When they know what they're doing, what you're doing feels active and relevant and necessary. When they don't know what they're doing, what you're doing feels reckless and dangerous and stupid. And there's self-discipline, the self-maintenance, the improvisation under pressure. And yes, this could be said about any organized group of people trying to accomplish anything. But what makes the arts unique is its ability to articulate a feeling. And coming from the Marine Corps, it can be a little lost in the sauce, as we would say, when it comes to articulating a collective experience. So for the first time at Juilliard, through playwrights and characters and plays that had nothing to do with the military, I was for the first time articulating my military experience to me in a way that before was indescribable. So my wife and I, who's here, we started a nonprofit called Arts in the Armed Forces, and for 15 years we brought the best of contemporary American theater to a military audience. No sets, no costumes, no lights, just reading the play in hopes that they would see that theater can be created in any setting, and to arm this community with a new means of self-expression. And I was lucky enough to not go to Walter Reed during the military, but was very lucky enough to be there under this circumstances, just to see how much the arts can elevate the spirit of someone in pain, whether they were in the bed or out of it. And that was someone that was in the military or the family that was with them or the hospital staff. And for me, it was just a reminder that, the Marine Corps, actually similar to acting, is just another one of those organizations where you could be surrounded by people and feel totally alone. And only through community and communication can you find a safety net sometimes. And that's hard to find when you get out of the military, because I think it's like less than 0.5% of the United States population is currently serving in the military. So the military-civilian divide is the greatest it's ever been in our nation's history. With that divide comes a lack of understanding. And that was the strength of that organization and organizations like this, is that they do provide a space for that understanding to happen. And it doesn't have to be as grand as this. It can be as simple as a chow hall or a hospital room. And lastly, I will say something about space. I just want to thank everyone for coming here, just to cover all bases. Attendance is actually an important thing. It's unsung but powerful. I know that from being part of this nonprofit. And honestly, ceremony can be important. And it reminds me of a play. There's this Richard Greenberg play called Take Me Out, and one of the characters is comparing baseball and democracy and how similar they are. And in the play, he says, another thing I like is the home run trot. It's not the mad dash around the bases when it's an inside the ballpark home run. I'm not sure I've ever seen an inside the ballpark home run. But what I'm talking about is that graceful little canter when the ball's crushed and it's missing and the outcome's not in doubt. And what I like about it is that it's so unnecessary. The ball's gone. No one's going to bring it back. And can anyone doubt that a man capable of launching a ball 400 feet is going to somehow fail to touch a base when he's running uninterfered with? For all intents and purposes, the game at that moment is not being played. And if duration of game is an issue, and I'm given to believe that duration of game is an issue, the sensible thing would be to say, yes, that's gone, add another point to the score and send the next batter to the plate. But that's not what happens. Play is suspended for a celebration. A man rounds 4 bases, and if he's with the home team, the crowd has a catharsis. And from the way he runs, you learn something about the man, and from the way they cheer, you learn something about the crowd. And I like this, because I don't believe in God, or well, I don't know about God or the metaphysical murk, but I like to think that something about being human is good. And what's best about us is manifested in our desire to show respect for one another, for what we can be. And that's what we do in our ceremonies, isn't it? We honor ourselves as we pass through time. And it seems to me that to do this before this, not before the ceremony or after the ceremony, but in the very heart of the ceremony is quite Does any other game do that? That's baseball. And that's the strength of nights like tonight and organizations like this, is to provide a space, to provide acknowledgement, and to look at an audience like this and see what we can be. So thank you very much for having me. It's a tremendous honor, and thank you all for your service. Thank you.
We're going to stay out here for just a minute. So, I think this is you.